Did you know that a Japanese soldier fought for nearly 30 years after the end of World War II? In 1944, US forces landed in the Japanese-occupied Philippines. Lieutenant Hiro Onoda was stationed on Lubang Island in order to stop the American advance, but as fighting intensified, he and 3 others escaped into the jungle, instructed to never surrender. Imperial Japan was a state which fostered intense loyalty from its soldiers. Propaganda pressured the Japanese people into intense devotion to their emperor, regarded as a divine figure. This, combined with nationalist rhetoric, made every man, woman, and child a part of the war effort. The military embodied this idea, with pilots willingly dying in kamikaze attacks as Japan's situation grew desperate. Soldiers often fought to the last man, refusing to surrender, giving Japan one of the highest military mortality rates in World War II. Of the 6 million men who served, 2.1 million died. Though Japan officially surrendered in August 1945, Onoda and his men continued guerrilla attacks on local villages, living off stolen food. They ignored surrender pamphlets, believing they were Allied propaganda, and even dismissed surrender orders from a Japanese general, convinced they were forged. One of the men surrendered in 1949, and 3 years later, letters and photos from the soldier's family were dropped, dismissed as fake. Since Onoda's hometown looked different from how he remembered, he thought the photos were doctored, unaware that it had been bombed and rebuilt. Despite continued newspaper airdrops and jets flying above during the Korean War, Onoda and his companions thought the war was still ongoing, the jets being a Japanese counteroffensive. They stayed for years, killing about 30 civilians, Onoda's remaining comrades being killed by Filipino authorities in 1954 and 1972. In 1974, adventurer Norio Suzuki found Onoda, who refused to surrender without orders from his commanding officer. Suzuki returned to Japan, and a month later, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi relieved Onoda of his duties. He surrendered to Filipino forces, handing his weapon to President Ferdinand Marcos, also receiving a pardon. Onoda had held out for 10,416 days after Japan's surrender. Onoda returned to Japan and was given a hero's welcome, going on to publish his memoir. In the memoir, he wrote that he had spent decades on the island because he and his comrades had clung to fixed ideas for so long that any bit of evidence presenting the opposite, like pamphlets and planes, was impossible to digest. He died in 2014 at the age of 91. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more.